This is the Gear Locker, and welcome to Roast Your Kit episode 1. You send them, I share them, and I try not to be too mean about it. If you want to find out how to get your kit in this next video, wait till the end, or check the description below. And also stick around to the end to find out my favorite kit that was submitted in this past 2 weeks. Lots to get through, let's get to it. I say we start out with a kit that's close to home with a 2008 Ranger team leader impression while they were in Iraq. This kit's from the local gear tavern, so check him out on Instagram. He's posting a couple of pics of this kit, so give it a follow. First off, before even taking a look at any of the reference photos, this kit is a vibe. I love that Ranger green mixed with the UCP. It's appreciated in some circles, but underappreciated in a lot of others. The helmet is very classic, very iconic for that time period. With the Mitch 2000, we got that Naruto's one-hole shroud, we got that NVG mount. It's a good look. He's using a couple iconic pieces of equipment like the RVSS and the Eagle RRV. Those are just great pieces of kit that have stood the test of time and people still love them today. As I'm looking at the chest rig setup over here, I'm a little confused about a couple pieces. Like number one, the 148 radio sits really far down no matter what, so I get that that's taking up the whole spot. But the canteen pouch with the Gatorade bottle into it, sitting a little high. I don't know, just me, I would move that down maybe a little bit, kind of throws off the balance, but again, that's just me trying not to be too mean. The one thing that does throw me off though is the one frag pouch up in the very top. You want to get another, or do you want to like get something else up there? I don't know. Just looks very isolated up there, which I get it if it's good for the impression, but I definitely think that there could be a little bit more going on to maybe help fill that chest rig out just a bit. But before I get way too carried away with throwing kind of inaccurate statements out, let's take a look at the reference photos. Straight up, you match that gritty Ranger vibe. The standard M4 looks great. I think I do see a painted example in the references. Now, the only thing that I would say is bothering me, and I'm gonna bring this picture back up, the patch of your American flag is just a bit too low. It also looks really green. I'm sure you can find a standard IR one. I'm not sure if that's like a glow-in-the-dark one or if it is IR, but that definitely needs to go higher up on the pocket portion there. Maybe see if you can find an IR one. Maybe the bright green is how they came from the factory. I'm not too sure. I don't collect those. But overall, I give this UCP Ranger kit out of 10, which we'll give it about an 8 out of 10. I think it looks pretty good. Definitely might be some things that you want to tweak, but overall, I like it. Now let's check out Zandir Dev, which I hope I'm not butchering that. It's going to be down below. But he has one of the most impeccable MACV SOG kits that has been submitted and that I've seen in quite a while, honestly. Now, this guy is a member of Modern Forces. If you don't know, they're a UK-based reenactment group who does impeccable Vietnam-based reenactments, especially their MACV SOG stuff. Now, Xander is impersonating a particular MACV SOG member, Howard Sugar, who participated in MACV SOG's 5th Halo jump in October of 1971. We do have a couple of different photos here from different stages, I guess, of this impression, or different variations, so to speak. But what you can see is that minty ERDL. It's a great look, and I love that you have the Gators down at the bottom. A little more common for CCN and maybe some CCC teams, but I think it's a great vibe. I don't even have them on my SOG kit. Now, I absolutely love the Stabo rig. It is not only such a cool vibe, but a very useful piece of kit that came out around the 69 timeframe and was used through the end of MACV SOG's tours in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. And that nylon piece of equipment matches so well with that modified grenade vest. It is a Type 2, like a second pattern grenade vest, but it was modified from a third pattern post-war example. I think he did an excellent job because honestly, if I didn't have the kit list in front of me, it would have fooled me. Looks good. And it matches really well with the tropical rucksack, my beloved. It's a great pack. And you can see right in the center picture here, he has all of the Halo equipment on and that tropical strap right below in between his legs. Let's take a look at the reference photos. Here's a couple photos of Howard. He's got the XM177E2, but that underbarrel M203. Honestly, the M203s were not terribly common in Vietnam. They showed up a lot more in the later parts of the war. And having it here on a Car 15 is super cool. And as you can see on the rightmost picture, he's getting his equipment all ready for that Halo jump. It's a super neat kit, and Xander, I give you props. I definitely give this one a 10 out of 10. This was really close to being my top favorite pick, but stay tuned because that one's coming up. Xander's kit is going to be pretty hard to follow, but this one from Payload Co. Airsoft also kind of fits that same vibe. Now, he sent in is a MACV /LRRP kit. So I don't know if I would call this a direct impression of either one. And let's kind of talk through it first before I give my final opinions. So right here, it looks like he's got a set of advisor camo, the tiger stripe, really classic stuff. But he's also got a stable rig, a grease gun. He's got the standard magazine pouches. He's got a couple different compass pouches. He's got some canteen covers. It works. It definitely looks like it could fall into a sphere of that. But let's, again, keep looking at some of the other details that I want to focus in on before we give it our final rating. He does have the stable rig, which is an original, even though it might be from the 80s. He's got a couple M67, a couple M51. What in the world am I talking about? He's got a couple M56 pouches. Looks like 2 of the universal magazine pouches. The only thing I'm really concerned about is those canteen pouches. Those canteen pouches, they look a little too light, almost as if they're M1910 ones, but I do see that there are the button snaps up top. Honestly, the thing that's throwing me off the most, I think, is that stamping. I don't believe those are early ones. I believe they might be reproduction, so correct me if I'm wrong, dude. But I would definitely encourage you to find period M56 canteen covers. Just because if you notice, the stamping on the US and the canteen covers is the older style when you compare it, especially to the M56 one right next to it. The M56 is more simplified, one line U, one line S, whereas the US on the canteen covers has some flaring out at the ends, just that different font. Now the compass or first aid pouches, one of them is definitely an M56. That's great. I would probably move it away from the back, maybe fill that with another canteen cover. But the one on the shoulder here, I gotta say, I think that's an Alice one, just because it is a nylon piece. It's unlikely that it's M67. It could be M67, but I think that metal button is shining through a little bit there. So I'd probably swap that out. Maybe take the one you have on your rear and place that up there on the shoulder. That could definitely work just a little bit better for you. And he's also got the grease gun. No doubt grease guns were used occasionally by SOG dudes, and he does have one in a reference photo, so let's take a look at that now. So right now I'm seeing a couple cool kits shown next to his, so let's dive into them just a little bit. So starting with the guy in the center, that's Charles Holland of the 173rd LRRP team. It's a really iconic kit. If you look up Long Range Recon Patrol, his picture is gonna show up. It's a very iconic picture, extremely badass. It's just such a well put together kit, and it's functional because he was there doing it. He was killed in action, I believe, in 1968. But I mean, his kit is such a cool, iconic piece, and he's got so much history in this that it's definitely something cool to look into. But going next to it is some MACV SOG dudes. They didn't really wear tiger stripes outside the wire, so emulating that might be more of an on-base kind of thing. I would definitely encourage you to get some juggle fatigues. Third pattern modifieds are great for that. But you can see close to this dude's leg, which correct me if I'm wrong, viewers, but I think that's John Striker Meyer tilt. I don't know, looks like him from the side a little bit, kind of on the range as they were messing around with stuff. But right by his thigh over there, you'll see a grease gun poking out the back. Now, I know grease guns were definitely used. One thing that I would love to see in your kit that I don't really think I've seen other people do is a suppressed grease gun. That would be super cool. I know SOG did use those a little more than they used the unsuppressed, although correct me if I'm wrong with that. So for now, I'm gonna give Payload Co. a 5 out of 10. You have a lot of really cool elements. I would just like to see maybe some of the things put together in one direction or the other. You definitely could go for some SOG vibes. Just make sure you got all the right pieces, flesh out the kit a bit more, and I would love to see it again in the future. So now let's jump into the modern era. We're gonna start with a small selection of kits that I know a whole bunch about and I'm excited to dive into, and that's the KSK stuff. First up is a submission from one of my great friends, Shane Photo. He's worked with me a ton on this channel, he's done awesome videography, and he built out a KSK kit recently, so let's dive into that. Here you can see we have a G27 style KSK kit. Right off the bat, before even looking at the reference photos, it just vibes well together, and this is totally my bias speaking here. That painted G27 with the Schlammkreide looks amazing. It's definitely a realistic pattern that would be painted. You have the XPIs on the side, the Hexonia style helmet, that Linderhof Gen 5 with real plates in there, might I add, and a lot of iconic pieces, including the multi-cals and the embedder pouch. It just works. There's a couple pieces that I would like to see improved for sure though. Number one, you gotta get that worm dial on the helmet. It's kind of hard to see in this photo, but you can definitely see it poking out in the back. And his holster is a Blackhawk Level 3 holster. It's not the LLMPI version, but changing that to a Radar 1957 one would be a really good upgrade. So let's take a look at the reference photos and see how that kind of matches up. All right, so pulling these up, and there's a lot of similarities here. Even kind of the pose is similar. You can see he's got the Einsatzkampfblues with the modified Velcro. It's not exactly the same modification done, but it is kind of the same vein. And he's got the rescue combi down below on his legs. That's such an iconic piece to this kit in particular, as well as some other Bundeswehr kits, that I think it's a good addition. So all in all, Shane, I'm gonna give this a solid 8 out of 10. Couple improvements to be made. I know we can work on that together, but yeah, nice job, dude. Give him a follow for sure. He films a bunch of the content that you've seen on this channel, and I'd love to continue working with him in the future, so give him a boost. Now, next in the KSK chain is one from German SF Airsoft. Looks like a couple different phases of the kit because some of the equipment has changed between the photos. So let's take a look at each of the photos individually and also point out the things that you did correct over time. Like in this first photo, you have the quad nods, you have the Hexonian style helmet, but moving down, he's got the Gen 5. He's got a really large German flag patch. You don't see that too much in the 2015 to 2017 timeframe, but it's something that does work. And it's sitting on a Gen 5 with the EKB and EKH. I think that all works, that's great. Pouches though, I think could definitely use an improvement, which I want to direct our attention to the picture in the middle because that's where we see that improvement in the pouches. Like the multi-caliber pouches up front are now the correct style, which is great. I love to see it. You could still change that radio pouch. I would highly recommend you do that to be one of the Embedder ones that was issued with the Gen 5. But otherwise, the plate carrier is looking pretty decent. I'd also change that push-to-talk system too. If you can get a TK5, awesome. If not, maybe a CEO-tronic Super Duty, something else like that, that would be a little bit more correct for that kit. Now, on the last picture, that shirt, that 3-farb shirt, is not correct. Definitely change that to be one of the issued style, or if you want, get one of the Linderhof Tactic or Watana ones. That's just the standard Bundeswehr shirt. But I did want to highlight that that G36K4 is looking great. You might have an Ares or a Tokyo Marui body, because I see that as a 3D printed rail, but honestly, from afar, you can't really tell. So nice job on that front. It also looks like in that photo, you have an older EXPS. You definitely updated in the newer one. So great job on that front. I definitely think you're making great strides. I'd love to see those couple of changes. So I'm gonna give this one a solid 7.5 out of 10 because German SF Airsoft, good job, dude. I love the progress. Keep it up and send some more in the future. And now let's kick it forward a couple of years and go for something in multi-tarn. This kit is coming to us from Agent Miami P06. And he's got an updated KSK kit from around the 2018 timeframe. While some guys still use the Gen 5s, and they also had multi-tarn a little bit more widely used. There's some cool elements to this kit, but let's take a look at all of the individual pieces that you've got before we jump into the reference photos. Looks like you've got a G95K there. I'm not too sure what the build is because I know oftentimes you have to hand build those yourself. The color looks to be kind of flat and the same, while there is some variation in the real one. But either way, working on a G95, I give you props for that. That's not something I've even started to dive into. So I'd love to see some more updates on that rifle front. That'd be cool. Up top, it looks like you do have a helmet cover. It seems to be in multi-tarn, so I'm guessing like a reproduction from Roman or something. Pretty cool. You definitely have seen some multi-tarn helmet covers in the later years, I guess. But most often, really, you'd see kind of just a blank helmet. So I'd encourage you to maybe take it off. Don't worry about that too much. It is a cool vibe though. If you want to run it, I'm sure it's kosher for later years. But you did mention that you have a maritime helmet. The KSK helmets that were issued are based off of the OpsCore Fast XPs, the ones that Hexonia kind of combined and modified a little bit. So I'd encourage you to get a Fast XP helmet. Moving down, you do have a Linderhof Tactic Gen 5. Looks like it is a green mesh and you have a lot of Steingrau pouches on there. Unfortunately, the pouches that were run in this kind of time period are 5-farb. With the tan mesh Gen 5, so standard, same color outside Steingrau, but the inside was tan mesh. And then the pouches, probably I'd encourage you to go to 5-farb. We'll take a look at the references later. But what I do know and what I think you might be going for is later on, kind of later in 2018 and onwards, you had the Gen 6 style plate carrier, I guess, the laser cut one, and they had a lot of Steingrau pouches with that. So maybe that's the vibe you're going for, and I like it. I think that's a cool vibe, but we'll check how accurate this portion of the kit is for now. I love the Petzl gloves hanging down there. Those are great gloves. You got to break them in a little bit, but they're pretty solid. Banana hands, we call them. Good stuff. And then let's talk about the multi-tarn. Now, this is a personal opinion. I'm not dogging you for it, but the Cry-Cut multi-tarn isn't my favorite thing in the world. It's definitely not correct for the kit. They were issued the Watana or the Linderhof. So the multi-tarn, while a cool vibe, it's unfortunately not the correct uniform cut. So let's take a look at the references and then I'll give my final rating. I definitely see what you're going for here in the references. You've got a lot of similar notes, like with the Multitarn, with the G95K and the Lenderhoff 10.5, but I think there's a lot of details that could definitely be improved upon. Those 5-FAR pouches, maybe making sure that you have the correct uniform cut and updating some of the things on like your helmet setup, I think would go a long way to actually fleshing this out to be a full-on impression. Because right now, I'd give this a really good inspired kit, because it definitely has a lot of those same vibes and those same notes, but there's a lot of details that I think we could definitely work on. So for right now, I would give this kit about a 5 out of 10, not because it's a bad looking kit, it definitely has some cool vibes, but it's not really pushing that impression kit sphere. Regardless, give this guy a follow if you want to see the progress on his kit. I know I'm looking forward to seeing the progress in it, so check him out. So now it's time for me to take a breather and step away from the things that I'm a little bit too into. And let's jump into some kits that are outside of my realm and pretty darn cool. The first couple being Rust 4 kits. And ironically, the same kind of unit as far as I'm aware. The first one comes from Tegui, and this is a 2022 to present day Russian SSO direct action kit. The ATAX FG looks super cool. I remember when ATAX first came out and Airsoft GI was making it their like team camo and it looked like oil stains on a tan shirt. Didn't look good. But then they came out with the FG and a lot of cool kits have used it since. So I definitely appreciate that in this kit here. Looks like he's got a replica Spartanets helmet with an Ars Arma helmet cover, Contact XPs, and a Hellstar light. And it matches well with the 545 Design Links uniform in ATAX FG. Again, not brands I've heard of, but definitely looks cool altogether. Plate carrier seems to be a UR Tactical ITPC and ATAX IX, which is another cool variation of the ATAX camo. The boots are tan Loa Zephyrs, which a lot of guys in KVB absolutely love, so I'm sure they're great boots. And then he's got the LCT AK-74M. It's got a nice rail system on it, really cool optic. It looks like a Comp M4, but correct me if I'm wrong. Looks like a good setup overall. It looks very light, minimalist, comfortable, and ready for some direct action stuff. So now let's take a look at some reference photos. Right off the bat, I see exactly what you were going for with your personal photo. In fact, looking at this collection of 3 pics, it's kind of hard to tell which one's actually you. The only reason I can tell is because of the environment and I've seen it before. So the picture that you see on the left is incredibly close to the picture on the right. Lots of really good design notes there, and I think you absolutely nailed the impression. Props to you, dude. Great job building this kit out. So I'm gonna give this one a really solid 9 out of 10. But guys, in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong. If you nailed this kit spot on, let me know. From the reference photos, it looks like it. I'm sure there's some kind of Rust 4 guy out there who's picking apart everyone's kit details. So let me know, because it looks great to me. So now let's keep in the same vein of Rust 4 kits with another SSO kit, and this is a DRG kit. Right off the bat, I'm seeing the Leaf suit, and I know a lot of people like it. I'll save my opinions on the Leaf suit for later. Looks like he's got a lot of really cool kit pieces in there, so let's kind of pick apart what he sent me. His helmet setup looks like he's got a lot of different details on there, like the XPIs, Princeton Tech MPLS, Mohawk counterweight pouch, Core Survival Hellstar 6 Gen 3, a leafy balaclava. There's just a lot going on in the head, and that kind of detail is carried through in the torso as well. Repa 99 NRS chest rake in multicam, which blends in with the Leaf suit pretty well, and a whole bunch of other pouches like HSGI tacos, UR tactical pistol pouches, tearaway pouches, radio pouches. He's got a Baofeng in there, which he does mention the DM1701 with a mic is far, but from here I can't really tell. Maybe it's covered up by the Leaf suit. Fits the vibe regardless for a Russian kit. Then he's got a lot of other pieces on him, like the Sokol Leafy suit, and he's got Loa Zephyrs as well. Seems to be a kit theme with these SSO ones. That RPG strap to the back looks really good too. It's a Reaper's House RPG 26, and your AK-74M also looks really cool. The paint job on it is great. Kind of fits that brown earthy vibe with the stuff you see behind you. But nice job on this kit overall, special cranking operation. Taking a look at the reference photos, he pretty much nailed it. You see a lot of the exact same things on the reference photos, the 2 on the right, with his actual photo on the left. So nice job, dude. Honestly, there's not really much else to say. Other than, I'm not a fan of Leaf suits. I don't know why. Like, I get the intention. I get the point of it. It's a great camouflage. But for some reason, I just feel like maybe it's a little overdone. Maybe that's just here in the US with the Milsim West scene. But overall, I think he did a great job with it. My personal flavor, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. But in terms of an impression, I would definitely put this in the 9 out of 10. Only because, again, I'm not exactly sure what's perfect or not. So let me know in the comments if everything's up to snuff. And if you were just getting excited about controversial kits, wait no more, because we've got another one with a Lotar Elliott 2010 to 2012 kit. This was submitted by Hoskenka. So follow him on Instagram because what he's put together is an IDF kit. Again, this is Lotar Elliot from 2010 to 2012. And the Lotar team is close to the Russian concept of like sober team or SEK. So kind of like a police style force, but they aren't necessarily limited to staying in their areas. This is direct from him, and you can kind of get that from current events. So let's get into the kit before we diverge into anything crazy over there. But this IDF kit has the IDF betwork, uniform top, bottoms, and a belt. And probably the iconic piece of this kit is the Meram Dolphin TV7711 vest. Very cool vest. It definitely has that 2010s vibe to it. Lots of pockets and pouches and everything, with a couple buckles up front. It almost is like a cross straw, but not. I don't know if you remember those cross straws that you could replace with more magazine pouches. Looks cool, but definitely is an older vibe. He's got an OR 201 helmet and a custom-made cover from Israeli camo netting and a black band. So let's take a look at the reference photos and see how this matches up. Right now, taking a look at it, I can't really tell any differences. Like, I think he did an excellent job on all of these things. The only stuff that maybe I'd like to see more in the future is a rifle accompanying this. And maybe some other pocket filler items. So overall, nice job, Hoskenka. So maybe I pronounced that a little too German. But I'm gonna give this kit a solid 7 out of 10. Not because it's bad at all. Maybe I'm being too nice in this, but it's not bad. It's great. I just love to see some more details to it. And now let's fast forward to some modern time stuff from all the way across the pond and across the pond again with an Australian SASR Modern kit. This is all from Fitzy Goes Pew, so check him out on Instagram. The Australian style multicam is cool because it's got some more like orangish browns and some brighter greens. It's a very interesting thing, and this kit does that justice. He's got a Cry airframe replica with a Cry multicam cover and OpsCore amps. All very modern equipment, very user-friendly equipment, so I'm sure he's enjoying that head setup compared to some of the older ones we've seen. His first line is a TYR gunfighter belt and a bunch of ADA and TYR tactical pouches. You can see some in multicam, mostly in that OSCAM style, and an LBT 9022B, Blade Tech holster, and a USP9 replica. Lots of stuff already going on the belt line. His second line, which is his plate carrier setup, is the Cry AVS. I've heard great things about it. It looks very comfortable with Cry, Blue Force gear, and ADA pouches. Straight up, it all looks like it matches together very well, and it looks like a very functional direct action kit. His rifle replica is a Troy M4A5 in the 14.5 configuration, with a T1 and G33. He's got a PEC 15, Enforced Weapon Light, Magpul AFG, and Surefire RC1. There's a whole bunch going on here, and honestly, that's what makes an impression. Having a rifle setup that's fully fleshed out, I can definitely agree with making a kit, so nice job on this front. So let's take a look at how it matches up with the reference photos. As you can see, if you didn't know this photo was an airsofter behind like an airsoft looking venue, it definitely will look a lot more realistic. This is an excellently done kit. The details are there. There's a lot of really cool pouches and unique things that are thrown together. So honestly, Fitzy, I would give you a solid 9 out of 10 on this kit. Great job. I'd love to see some more detail and like things that surround this kit. I don't know if you got other buddies who do different variations of it, but again, love it. 9 out of 10. Good job. And then before we get to my absolute favorite kit of episode 1, let's take a look at one more that goes back into the German sphere of things. Here we have a German SEK kit from SEK Kit. That's a mouthful. Here you can see we have a Linderhof Tactic P6 in Steingrau, a lot of other equipment in Steingrau, the multi-cals in laser cut. There's a lot of really modern notes in here that I appreciate. The SEK kits are super cool, so let's keep going a little bit more. He's got an SEK Südbayern back panel. He's got an admin pouch, a multi-pouch, all these kinds of Linderhof pieces, and it all flows together really well. What I didn't get a lot of detail on was what the helmet is and what the face shield is. I'm not sure how kosher all of that stuff is, but it looks pretty cool. Definitely looks like it fits the vibe of an SEK kit. And I can relate, it looks like you got a tool in your back pouch. I love doing breacher kits too, so nice job on that front. So let's jump into the reference photos. I was wrong about the face shield. That does look like it's the kosher correct version. Same with the helmet. I can't exactly tell what helmet it is. I'm not too versed in that stuff. Looks like you got a lot of the right pouches and everything. A couple of things I'm missing though. Number one, I'm missing some magazines, missing like a rifle or a primary weapon. I do see you have a secondary there, which is great, but also some of the other details. The Polizei patch is cool, but maybe some push-to-talks. I know they have the CEO-tronic stuff, which is very hard to find, very hard to get. But if you can, I think that would definitely elevate this impression. So overall, I do see a lot of really good stuff in here. I'd love to see a couple more details. So I'm gonna give this one a 7 out of 10 too, and send some updates in the future, man. Like I'd love to see this again, updated, maybe a little more fleshed out. So if you get a chance, if you get some more stuff, let me know, we'll share it. And now, before we get to our finale, before we get to my absolute favorite kit that was submitted, what I want from you guys is your submission. 2 weeks from now, on October 18th, I'm closing submissions for episode 2 of Roast Your Kit. So how you enter in is by sending me on Instagram at The.Gear.Locker at least one photo of yourself in the kit. Then I want a couple of reference photos. And lastly, send a list. The list is really helpful for me to identify this because as you guys saw in this episode, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know anything about. So send them in. I'd love to get to know different kind of kits and share those with you guys, but I can only do that if I know what's actually going on. That brings us to our final kit of this video. Of episode 1, Roast Your Kits. Let's take a look at it. Roast me in the comments all you want for picking another German kit. But from 54 SKP Kuchen, this is the 2024 SEK Hessen South Impression. Another SEK kit, I know, but this one is absolute perfection. I know this guy well. He does awesome Bundeswehr style impressions as well as SEK impressions. So again, I'm sorry I'm being biased in this, but this kit just looks too darn good. His uniform is one that I've heard is notoriously comfortable, and that is the UF Pro Striker Fire Resistant set. He's got a Linderhof HL042. This is a Hessen custom version, so I'm not exactly sure what makes it different from the standard HL042, but it being custom is pretty darn cool. I'm sure it came direct from one of the guys. And his belt is an MD Tactile MGS Spesker belt. His helmet is the new Bush Amp 1 HC, and he's got some accessories on it looks like. But let's move on to his weaponry. His secondary is the VFC SFP9, and his primary is the VFC HK416A5 in the style of a G38 of the SEK Hessen. So taking a look at the reference photos, you can see it just matches. It just works. He's got the CEO-tronics piece right there, which you can see on both of the reference photos. He's got the shotgun shell pouch. He's got the correct multi-cals. He's got one magazine in the middle, which the center guy also has that. So nice attention to detail there. And he's got some of the same patches that they have. In fact, you can see both of the patches on his arms are the same patches that are on the 2 reference photos next to him. He's got the goggles up front. He's got what looks like a little helmet light there. There's nothing to tear apart about this kit. It just looks incredible. So obviously, this one gets an absolutely banging 10 out of 10. Excellent job, dude. Submit some more next time because we'd love to see this kind of attention to detail in future episodes. So, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching episode 1 of Roast Your Kit. Again, if you want to get your kit in the next episode, which submissions close October 18th, 2024, send me a photo of yourself, 2 reference photos, and a kit list, as well as anything else you want to plug. Thank you guys again for checking out the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions, and we'll see you and your kits in the next episode.